Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Comic Corner. Classics / non-classics. This is episode number 508 and Doubleshot number 420. Two DC trades. First up, it's Batman Broken City, taking up issues 620 to 625. This was basically Brian Azzarello's own. Yeah, it's written by Brian Azzarello and artwork by Eduardo Riso. I looked it up, and this is by far Brian Azzarello's only story he ever wrote for Batman. Pretty much, the guy that succeeded him was Judd Winnick, who was who was actually on the book for a pretty good period of time. I think he was on the book for about 3 years, and then Grant Morrison took over the book, and then after Grant Morrison left, Winnick came back to the book briefly, and then Tony S. Daniel did it for the next couple years, writing it on and off up until the New 52 reboot. The story is this. There is a murder that happened, and it's suspected the Killer Croc was involved. But, yeah, and a lot of the time, Batman just goes around beating up people, trying to figure out who the murderer is. And he does find out exactly who. He doesn't exactly find out who it is. It's just a big murder mystery. It's a pretty decent story for what it is. There's appearances by ventriloquist, Scarface, the Joker. Killer Croc makes a brief appearance here. Yeah, it's almost like this is just a side story per se when it comes to Batman. It's okay. The story came out roughly about 14 years ago. The artwork is actually pretty good for the book. Let's show off the artwork. Here's some artwork of ventriloquist and Scarface. Yeah, this is actually pretty good artwork. Yeah, and it's a pretty good noir type of story. So, if you're reading a story, you don't really like the story very much, the highest praise that I can give this book is that it has fantastic artwork. Brian Azzarello is not a terrible writer per se. It's just that for this particular story, it's just pretty decent, and it's just okay at best when it comes to this particular thing. He writes Batman pretty decently. In the case of Batman villains, I would say the one he writes in the best is probably Scarecrow and Ventriloquist. And that's really it. And there's like one page in here of the Joker. Yep, one page of the Joker. Killer Croc appears for a cameo. And also, one other thing. When Batman beats up people, it's very bloody. I'm like, very gruesome, like blood on his fist. It seems like this is basically taking inspiration from Dark Knight Returns with this story and how much he beats people up more brutally than usual. Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and he follows a prostitute around. Yep. Trying to finally solve his murder, he does. But is something very whole about? No. And just by sheer coincidence, the story that preceded this was Batman Hush. Not kidding. Batman Hush was the preceding story for Batman. And I looked up, basically, Jeff Loeb was the previous writer just before Brian Azzarello took a look. Okay, Jeff Loeb. Oh, Batman Hush. Done by Jeff Loeb and Jim Lee. An awesome story. So, they follow up an awesome story like Hush with this. A story that's just decent at best. Not terrible, just decent. I'm going to get this book an 8 out of 10. It's just an okay story for what it is. Alright, next up is a little bit better of a story. Teen Titans, Volume 1, Our Right to Fight. Written by Scott Lobdell, artwork by Brett Booth, and inking by Norm Ram. This book contains the first 7 issues of the 4th volume of Teen Titans. This cover is the cover of the first issue of the series. And I should tell some things about this particular trade. For one thing, for starters, Superboy never wears the costume on the cover. This cover is also the cover they used for issue number 1. And also, for one other thing when it comes to this particular story, it's just a series of loosely connected stories. The name of the trade, Our Right to Fight, it's a good name, but it's not the name of the story. No, it is not. It's just basically Titans coming together. And who are the characters on the cover, aside from obviously Superboy? There is Red Robin, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, no, this is Bart Toward Kid Flash, that was not revealed for at least for a couple of years, Solstice, Skitter, Bunker. That's it. That's the lineup. But Superboy doesn't officially join this team until the culling, which comes right after this. Yep. I would say, in my honest opinion, now I know that Linkara did a review of the culling, and he says he didn't like Brett Booth's artwork. I actually like Brett Booth's artwork. I think it's a really good art style when it comes to drawing. Yeah. Here is Brett Booth's artwork. Yeah, he's also the artist. He's the current artist for Titans. Yes. And I gotta point this out, though, when it comes to, does the team assemble in issue 1? No, they do kind of the same thing Marvel has done a few times over the years. Despite the fact that it's called Teen Titans, the team does not come together to issue 4. Yeah, the team does not get their name to issue 4. They're just randomly brought together by Tim Drake, of all people. And this is a redesign of his costume he had prior to the Flashpoint reboot. This is his first costume he has in his continuity, well, first present-day costume. And this is actually one of, I would say, 3 costumes he's had in the past 6 years. You have this costume, you have his year 1 costume, which is 1 year later costume, which is also his first costume he ever wore in this continuity. And I know that Lobdell got chastised, basically changing Tim Drake's classic origin story that Marv Wolfman, George Perez, I'm trying to think. I don't remember who the other two. It was a 4-person creative team, 2 writers and 2 artists who did the original story, A Living Place to Die, in the course of year 3. I don't have a problem with Tim Drake having wings. Not a really big problem. Does he keep the wings when he changes costumes to his current costume he wears? No, he gets rid of them. And now, what happens to these characters basically currently? Well, as of currently, out of everybody in this cover, nobody's on the roster currently. It's a completely new lineup. Bunker has completely disappeared from DC Comics after by the time Rebirth happened. Wonder Girl made 1 appearance in DC's new talent showcase last year. Skitter, after the culling, disappeared until the end of Scott Lobdell's run before he got relaunched, number 1. Kid Flash left the team after his Kid Flash story, popped out a few issues of the next volume, disappeared, never heard from again. Solstice stayed in the future, never heard from again. Superboy, this Superboy, who was a clone of Superman, well, this continuity is basically for Superboy. The one is referred to as Con-El. He apparently died and was never seen again after Will Fire after that was run. Yeah. So, this original lineup does not exist anymore. The Titans exist, but it's a completely different lineup, and it's based upon the classic Marv Wolf and George Perez lineup. If you think of this particular lineup, it's based upon the Jeff Johns lineup with the addition of Solstice, Bunker, and Skitter. Yeah, that's simply put what you can say this lineup is based upon. The lineup that Jeff Johns had at the start of his run back in 2003. A run that started 8 years before this run. Now, this was relaunched in 2011 when the book had reached issue 100. Yep. After the book reached 100 issues, finally, the first, I would say it's the first Titans series to reach 100 since New Titans 100 published back in the early 90s. But it's the first time a book titled Teen Titans has reached 100. And I think it was J.K. Kroll, who was the writer of the book. And of course, we had Lobdell take over. Lobdell left after the culling, but he came back toward the end of the run. He came back again in the following volume. Throughout the second half of Will Pfeiffer's run. That's simply it. Yeah, they just come together, and at the end they meet Harvest. I think you can kind of say this is first appearance, but this guy here, this is Harvest. Tivia, my friend Tivia, this is his least favorite villain for New 52. He hates this guy. I think, in my honest opinion, the guy's got a great design. But currently, this guy's dead. Yeah. Liddell had it in a recent issue of Red Hood and the Outlaws where he was found... Basically, he was found dead, crucified in his own complex. As for how he died, well, it's rumored that he died of old age, but as for why his body was found there, no idea. That's simply the way it is. This storyline also kind of was the lead-in into the culling. If I ever get a chance to review the culling, I probably would in the future if I get hands on the trade for the culling. I know it's not exactly a popular storyline with a lot of people, but rereading this, I think it's a pretty decent set of issues. This is just my honest opinion. I know my friend Edgar, he kind of likes these issues too. But I'm going to give this thing a good rating. I'm going to get this a 9 out of 10. Now, my friend Tivia's not going to like the rating, but it's my show, my opinion. No, my opinion doesn't always matter to a lot of people, but people can probably understand my opinion. I enjoy this. It's a good read. It's better than Batman Broken City. You have a pretty decent story going on. I mean, Liddell is not exactly a popular writer with a lot of people, but he at least wrote a few of the characters to be interesting. And the only reason why I read Teen Titans, the reason why I got into Teen Titans was because of Robin. Well, Dick Grayson anyways, because he's my third favorite superhero from DC Comics. Tim Drake is I think he's my fifth, he's in like the top 10 favorite superheroes. That's the reason why also in particular I got into this run. And it was the only book up until like last year where he was featured in. Yeah, the only one. Imagine that. 9 out of 10. Alright, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for episode 510 and Doubleshot number 421, where there will be 2 more DC trades. First volumes of series I have never covered on this show before. There are trades. One I got for Christmas. The other I just purchased just a couple nights ago from Ollie's. Yeah, it's a local... Let's say a local store that had this big sell of DC trades. I got the trade for $2.99. Yep, I did. $2.99. You'll find out what the trades are in the next episode. Okay? Until I see you on my next episode. Bye.